Hey guys. All right, I'm back. Let's wrap up this review sheet. So I believe I was finished with 16th and 17th Amendment. Remember, those are ideas of the populace, which then come to fruition under the progressives. Um, let's do Woodrow Wilson. So election of 1912. Teddy's back on the scene, wants to run again. He's gonna try to become the Republican nominee, but Taft gets it. He runs Bull Moose, which becomes a third party. That effectively splits the Republican ticket or the Republican voters, giving the election to Woodrow Wilson, who is the Democrat. Now, Woodrow is a progressive in the sense that he does believe that government should play a role in checking business and industry, but he also is fearful that government, as a result, would get too big, which has, been an argument from the beginning. If government gets involved, when do they stop? Well, if government doesn't get involved, what happens to the most vulnerable of citizens? And that's sort of the debate today. How far should government go to help people in their lives? Obviously, in a time like now, today, um, with everything that's going on, I would imagine that most people are of the mind that government needs to do more or government needs to help people more during a time of economic or disease, calamity, whatever you want to call it. It's a similar argument. When things are going well, a lot of people say we need less government. When things are not going so well, like war or the economy, then people are saying let's do more government. Okay, so Woodrow Wilson is going to be less of a progressive than Taft or Teddy, but he is still a progressive because he is now a Democratic president. So now the other party, who is now of the opinion that government and business should be a check on business and industry. Okay, so that's significant because now, in a course of about 12 years, we now have established in the country that both political parties will at least have some voters that are looking for the government to do more for the lives of working class people. All right, and stopping monopolies and unchecked business greed. All right, so the big thing to know about Woodrow Wilson, and we're going to do a lot more Wilson because he is going to be the president during World War One, which is our next topic, which we will start on Monday. But the Federal Reserve System. So this is the idea of a central bank. Now, if you remember all the way back to Hamilton and Jefferson, Hamilton wanted the creation of a central bank called what he was going to call it the Bank of the United States. And that bank got rechartered a couple of times, and it would kind of come into fashion and out of fashion. So they would have it for a while, and then they wouldn't. And parties typically divided over whether they thought the idea of a central bank was good or not. Because remember, farmers were always skeptical of bankers, and we were mostly a nation of farmers. So, especially during the 1800s, you're going to see when the rural party is in power, they get rid of the bank. And when the more northern pro business party is in power, they favor the bank. Now, you'll also notice in history that in times where the bank didn't exist, there were often economic panics and recessions because you lose faith in the value of the dollar if you can't trust where the dollar's coming from and what it's actually worth. And what that does is it has a ripple effect through the economy where people are going to be less likely to spend money if they don't trust what the value of the dollar is and what it might be in the future. So we go from about 1790 all the way till I believe it was 1913, which is about 123 years, where we have a bank and then sometimes we don't, and up and down the economy went. But things are changing, right? We have industrialization, we have the growth of cities, we have sprawl across the country, we have millions of people in the country at this point, immigration, massive wealth creation. So, for once and for all, they're going to create a Federal Reserve System, which was a central bank that would control the money supply, interest rates, and help the economy overall. Does it make the government bigger? Absolutely. Now, again, The populace wanted a control of the money supply and the ability for government to manipulate interest rates. So once again, I believe out of their top 5 platform items, 4 of the 5 are enacted by 1913. And they were a party in the late 1890s. So it goes to show you that their ideas were very, very popular. And even though they never won a presidency or anything like that, or even a senator job, they were popular enough that the people picked it up and gave it to their politicians and said, we want this. All right. Now, if you're following along with what's going on in the news right now, the Federal Reserve is playing a major role because the markets are in turmoil, the stock markets, and the bank is coming in, the Federal Reserve is coming in and cutting interest rates and manipulating the money supply in order to help the economy. Without them, you really have no federal control over the financial markets. Now, is there such a thing as too much Federal Reserve? Absolutely, and that could be debated back and forth and will until the end of time. But the fact that we needed it, it probably was needed a couple of decades before 1913, but here it is, and a Democrat who was the party of rural and states' rights and traditional values, they're going to be the ones, or at least with Wilson in office, they're going to be the ones to back this. So now you sort of have the parties are getting closer in the idea that the government does need to get bigger to help people. Because if you think about it, if working class people get paid more and they're the majority of people, they will spend money, money will flow up the hill, and that will get back into the hands of the Rockefellers and the Morgans as well. You don't just need cuts for the wealthy and help for them while everyone else struggles. Everyone that's a consumer plays a role in the economy by buying things. And if we can help them, then money can also flow up as well as down. Okay, so that wraps it up for the progressive review sheet. I outlined about 4 or 5 past regencies and the questions that you guys should do for practice. It's on one of my Google Classroom posts from yesterday. 25 regents, multiple choice questions through Google Forms. And I think that's about it. All right, so stay safe, be healthy, make good decisions, keep your head up, and hopefully, I miss you guys. And hopefully we will get to see each other soon. Have a good night.